them, if you like this sector, if you like these people, if you think they can achieve that 24-month plan with the money that they have today, why don't you bid on it today? And if you bid on it today, then you're creating kind of a future. You're saying, I'll bid on that company and buy that stock in that organization in 2 years or 3 years' time, subject to them achieving these benchmarks. If they achieve these benchmarks, I'm a buyer of $5 million worth of stock in that company. Now, that does a lot of things. That allows the early stage investor to get some relief. These guys at the higher end of the scale that aren't interested in this early stage company are now all of a sudden interested, because that bid is not a commitment, it's just an expression of interest. So I think the worlds can be bridged. You know, I think, and we have to think creatively in order to bridge those worlds, because trader mentality and investor mentality don't sit together in an early stage environment. Early stage companies can't have traders involved in their security. They can only have investors involved in their security. When they become a later stage company, there will be the greatest big board stock exchange, stock listed company ever, because they'll have, to your point earlier, they'll have had their training ground in their university on an early stage exchange. They've got used to what it's like to be a public company, look after their shareholders, make reports, provide news releases, produce their financial accounting, etc. And when they decide to go to a big board exchange and go into that possibility that somebody might want to create a derivative of their security, they'll have institutional support and they'll be able to cope with it. The problem with early stage companies listing on big board exchanges is the company cannot possibly withstand that kind of trading activity when they have no institutional support. They're an easy target for a short player. So we need to keep the trading mentality in organizations like this, and we need to keep investor mentality, and we need to separate them. It's what I was saying earlier about in that third segment. There is a number of segments within that third segment, and we need to look at them all, and we need to provide them all with what they're looking for so that they participate. And I think that's the point.
Thanks. Now the floor is open for questions. You can actually ask Mr. Balasubramanian about if you have money to invest or something like that. He will guide you how to double your money and things, the opportunities in India. And for Edward will help you how to actually generate or even how to find value in SMEs. Any questions?
My question is to Bala, actually. The point is, so with the, and if you can censor it, if with the tax arbitrage slowly and steadily going off, right, and with Mauritius and Singapore not being, are being taxed in the same fashion as an Indian investor is taxed, right? So what is our preparedness in the gift city to host foreign portfolio investors? Oh, this is possible, right? Isn't it?
Definitely, it's possible. As you rightly pointed out, there is a GAR which is kicking in, and already India has said that it has already amended the treaty with some of these countries, which was to basically not do double taxation avoidance, but it was being misused in the sense that these countries are actually not taxing at all. So effectively, that policy is kind of changing. So now, obviously, people are going to look at paying some amount of tax. Even in Gift City, the tax is not zero. There is a minimum alternate tax of 9%, which is at par, which is better than Singapore, which is 15%. But obviously, Dubai is zero, but Dubai has other interesting ways to actually collect fees, which doesn't exist there. And also the cost of doing business within the Gift City and the Indian is all in the Indian cost. So obviously, we think that a lot of foreign players, in fact, they're already evincing keen interest, as I mentioned during this panel. There are quite a lot of international brokers who are waiting and watching in terms of how to use it. And as the GAR itself is going to get fully implemented over the next 3 years, because it's not a one-day thing, it's like a graded kind of thing over the next 3 years, you will definitely see some of these benefits start coming in. There are some slew of measures which have also been suggested to the government in terms of further tax things which are required to be done in the international center. And if those do fructify, then obviously this will become an attractive alternative for those centers. Like I expect that in the next month, probably we could have fund managers who are probably sitting in those centers who will be permitted to do the similar activity from the IFSC. So that itself will be a game-changing move.
Yeah, so what we see is there are a set of FPIs who are actually interested in setting up things in Gift City. Maybe if exchange is interested, we can work things out and maybe help them out in putting up there.
Absolutely. In fact, the regulator has already, for example, we talked about those 3 categories.
Yeah, 130,
But
yeah.
today in the IFSC, SEBI has come up with the 4th category, which is saying eligible foreign investors. And it doesn't differentiate at all. And eligible foreign investors could be anybody. And they do not even have to actually come into India to be able to invest in the IFSC. So they can directly come into the IFSC as well.
And second question is from the exchange perspective. What do you see as a difference as compared to the high-end entities like DAFC and all, Dubai International Finance Center? What is the gap that we have in order to ensure that we reach that level?
See, the big advantage which we have is we have a pretty large ecosystem of financial players, both in terms of issuers who have appetite to raise capital, and also in terms of investors who want to actually put in that capital. Now what we are doing is, through this International Financial Service Center, we are for the first time probably creating a liberalized ecosystem, which is without those restrictions. So that is the big advantage. That is the reason why I said that there are 3 things. One is, from a tax friendliness perspective, this is much better off. From a regulatory rule restriction perspective, again, it is much better off. From a technology perspective, obviously India is on the cutting edge, the same benefits out there. When you combine tax, regulatory advantage, and technology, then you got all the ingredients to make it a great story. And there is enough interest from people, because finally at the end of the day, there is this thing. So in some sense, the IFSC is something which could become a very good system or very good kind of an attractive place for people to come and do business and look at making the investments.
Any more questions? Very interesting topic, a very interesting time to take investments, SMEs, to drive innovative ideas, stock exchanges, international exchanges, and a very valid point that you made, Mr. Balasubramaniam, about creating an ecosystem. I think that's the right word, as well as to Mr. Fitzpatrick, who said about the confidence that SME needs and their value, which has been ignored all these years, even from a regulatory perspective. So shall we close the panel discussion, Mr. Bhaskar? Thank you, gentlemen. It has been very insightful. Keep up the hard work and keep up the knowledge platform up and rolling. Thank you.